Hey everyone, welcome to Parker's Reefs. I'm still working from home doing our self-isolation thing here in Australia, and I'm about to hit my lunch break. And the last couple of days I've been playing my pinball machines at lunch, but I don't know, it gets a little bit boring at home by yourself trying to beat your own high score. So I figured today I'd rip out my DSLR, I get a few pictures from my fish tank, and I thought I may as well get the camera out and take you guys on the journey. Alright, so as discussed, I'm going to take some pictures, and I've brought out my camera. Just for full disclosure, what I use for my pictures, I've got a Canon 5D Mark III. This has kind of always been a dream camera for me. I know it's getting a little bit old now, but I slowly worked my way up to this camera. I bought it secondhand, I got it for a steal, absolutely love it. I'm sure I could possibly get slightly better results with a newer camera, but realistically, if you save your budget for lens and also spend some time in post-processing, you're going to get just as good photos with like a $300 camera as you are with a $3,000 camera, so don't stress the body too much. Speaking of lenses though, my go-to lens when taking, and I should explain, I'm going to be taking macro shots because my tank, it's doing alright, but it's got a few problem areas at the moment. I've got a couple of algae that I'm going to try and tackle, so I'm going to focus on some macro photos because I can pick spots on my corals with a macro lens that make them look out of this world. So why take full tank shots if you've got a few parts of your tank you're not happy with, when you can take macro shots of particular pieces that look incredible? When taking macro shots, I just about always use the Canon 100mm f2.8L lens. The L is their like premium glass that's denoted by this red ring. I don't know how much difference it makes over their non-L lens, but the 100mm macro is an absolute ripper. It takes some killer shots. And for extra close-ups, I like to use a little what do they call them? Extension tubes. I've just got the 12mm extension tube on there, which basically what that does is it spaces your lens away from the body, which allows you to get even closer because of the distance between the glass and the mirror and the body. It basically means your minimum focusing distance gets reduced. It does come at a little bit of a cost of quality, so you've got to be a bit mindful of that. But I've only got the really small spacer on there, which will just let me get within probably about 10 centimeters of the corals that I want to take pictures of, give me those ultra macros. And obviously if I'm going to get within 10 centimeters, I need a top-down tube. Take your pick with these. I've got a few different ones at the moment. I've got this Pacific Sun top-down tube, I've got the Avast top-down tube, and I've got the Coral Creations carbon fiber top-down tube. They've all got their pros and cons. The thing I like about this PacSun one, and it's kind of a little bit of a weird thing to like about it, but it literally just fits over the body of my 100mm, like it's actually a bit tight, which the benefit of that is it stops excess light getting down past the body. So when I'm like over the top of my tank and the lights are above me, I don't get a lot of light coming down this tube and then reflecting back up into the lens when I'm taking the picture. So this particular top-down lens tube works really well for my 100mm macro. But anyway, enough talk about it. Let's get the camera out over the tank and get some pictures. Alright, so here is the tank. I've waited till the halides came on for the day, and I guess I was probably being a little bit harsh when I said the tank's not looking its best. Some of it's looking pretty good, but if we can get in the angle up here, you can see I got a little bit of trouble algae going through my bird's nest up there. I've had some pokey die off, had an SBS up there die. It's kind of hard to see, but my red Monty up there is paling out. So I've had a hammer over here get stung by a chalice. A few things aren't looking so great, but individually some pieces are looking really cool, and I want to get some pictures of them. Like this beautiful fire truck acro's really got its red back. This piece up here has got some really cool green and blues going on. My ever famous or popular what do they call, candy canes, is fattening back up despite me cutting half of the back of it off. You can see we've got this huge empty space there. The Dustin's cousin's growing like crazy. The red Monty cap's got some really cool swirls in it. The Duncans are just doing what Duncans do. There's another Dustin's cousin down in there growing through in a little bit less light. Got some really nice despite the algae covered pieces up here, got some really nice colors going on in some pieces up there, especially this blue tip stag. There's some cool things going on, so I figured let's get the camera. Oh, there's another couple pieces in it. Nice. Got a beautiful pink digi in there, looking really cool. We'll try and get some pictures of that. And this stylo, this purple stylo with like a yellow base is crazy. So let's get the camera out. I'll run through the settings I use and we'll get some pictures. Alrighty, let's get into it. So obviously you get your camera, you make sure you got a good battery in there. You've got your memory card that's got plenty of space in there. Grab your top down tube, make sure it's clean. The last thing you want to do is screw all this on, then have the have fingerprints on it, which is annoying. I tend to like to put my extension tube on the minimum distance possible. You know, each to their own on that. Some people like to put it right up to the top of the camera. Doesn't work for me. I rather keep a little bit of, ironically, extension. On my camera settings, I will tell it that I'm going to do the short range stuff. I do want autofocus on, and I do want the stabilizer on. Switch it on. When I'm taking some macro shots, I'll go through some settings. We'll see how they work. Probably going to go for a aperture of about 4.0. I'm going to set ISO to auto, letting it work out the ISO. And for the shutter speed, we'll start off with about 1/60th of a second. I'm going to jump up, and you'll notice I haven't turned any flow off to the tank. I don't do anything like that. I tend to just snap away and see how we go. Sometimes when taking up top-down shots, if you've got like a crown like I do here, it's kind of hard to see through the eyepiece. So I switch to the live view, which basically just gives you footage on screen, what you're seeing. I do find the camera's a little bit slower to react with that, but you know, it is what it is. All right, this is the home office for both myself and my wife for the next few weeks while we work from home, but I'm on my lunch break now, so let's get the photos off this camera and we'll whack them onto my Mac, and I'll run through how I edited them up. All right, here we go. We're at my Mac, so I'm just going to pop the memory card into the laptop. And what I'll also probably do is make a new folder. We'll make this, let's rename that folder. Hello, okay. Coronavirus. Boredom. Spelled that right? Yep, cool. All right, now I'm going to open up the thing that I get the pictures off the memory card. That's image capture. Select the memory card. All right, these will be sorted by the date they were taken, so I'm just going to scroll through. I was going to go to my daughter's birthday. We're not going to get those pictures, so we'll grab just these ones. We'll pick the folder I want to import these to. I know you can do this other ways, but this is just the way I do it. Then I'll import those pictures. So that's basically just taking them off the memory card, popping them onto a folder on my desktop. And then what I like to do is delete the photos off the memory card so that I don't end up dealing with doubles. I'll also eject that memory card just because don't need it there, and when I open up Lightroom it tries to import them through that again, and it causes dramas. So we should be pretty good now. The memory card's been ejected. I think I've just pulled it out and didn't get any warning. Great. So now I'm going to open up Lightroom Classic. And I think we've got about 34 photos to work through, so should be pretty quick. I tried to not take thousands of pictures because we don't have 5 hours to do this video, because sometimes editing these photos does take a little while. All right, now I'm going to jump in, find the pictures that I just put on my desktop. Coronavirus boredom, great. There's the pictures. Let's import all of those and see how they look. So, well, we've got all of these here. From a brief look, yeah, they look okay. We can wait till they do this, but basically I like to get them up on full screen, and then we can decide from there whether we're going to spend some time processing the photo or we're just going to delete it straight away. These pictures, I should have pointed out before, were all taken in RAW format. They're not taken in JPEG, they're taken in RAW, and I'll explain why that's important. Because you get a picture like this, it allows us to adjust some things. So the automatic white balance is set that at Kelvin of 7,250. We're probably running up around the, I know I've got 20,000 Kelvin bulbs in there, but to be honest, when I go to 20,000, it looks a little bit too red for me. I don't believe the coral's that red to the eye. So I'm going to set these around 16,000. This picture looks a little dark, so I'm just going to add a little bit more exposure to it. I'm not going to touch saturation because I'm pretty happy that's how it looks. I am going to, you can just see here, this section here, if you can see my cursor, there's a little bit of noise in there because it wasn't a fairly dark area of the tank, so I'm just going to take a little bit of that noise out, which will just smooth it out. Let's have a look. There should be something somewhere, there it is, dehaze. This is what I do like to take a little bit out. It just takes that if you end up with a picture like that, basically with a bit of Vaseline over the lens, it looks obviously a bit shit. So I just take a little bit of dehaze, something like that looks pretty good. I might have to add a little bit more exposure back in. Looking pretty cool. All right, and then from there, about all I like to do is just to keep the focus on the picture, I like to just sort of darken out around the edges here. That's not a bad looking picture. I mean, it's probably not going to make a calendar or anything, but it's pretty cool. If I wanted to make it a bit more dramatic, I could probably focus right in on something like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd probably take a little bit of the vignetting off. Not a bad looking picture. Cool. Next one. This one's pretty similar. You can see the drastic change in color. Like once we've finished processing that one, as opposed to a picture that was basically the same. We're going to come up, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to adjust it up to about 16,000 Kelvin, add a bit of exposure, take a little bit of dehazing out of it. We'll just take a little bit of noise reduction out, and we might leave that one as is. Job done. Next one. All right, this one's a little bit blurry. This was taken in a really dark section of the tank. Take a little bit of that out. We'll see what it looks like when I put some color back into it. This is my beautiful yellow. I don't even call it gold, I call it yellow, this hammer, and yeah, it's not a bad shot. I don't like what's going on up here though, so I might just crop that out. We'll just focus down on these bits here. That looks pretty cool. Once we take a little bit of dehaze, it should look even better. Yeah, it's all right. Not the best picture. That one's terrible. Let's just delete that one straight away. All right, this is a pretty cool picture. I might, do I want to frame that up or not? I might just frame a little bit of that up. Okay, that's good. Once we add some color, does it look better or worse? This is my super fluoro green pokey. That looks pretty cool. It needs a bit of dehazing though. I can see some haze coming through. Have a look at that. There's no need to, maybe a little bit of noise reduction in there, not a lot. That's a cool picture though, I really like that. I don't think I'd change much more. That's a good one. You see, we take a picture, a bunch of 30 pictures, and that might be the only cool one we get out of it, but it's still worth it. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, that's rubbish. Let's delete that. I mean, you could do something with it, but it's hardly worth it. Not a big fan of that picture, although that section's not bad. Let's see what happens when we zoom in. But the problem with that is if we zoom in on, say, something like that, this part here is out of focus. This part here is being stung or has no polar extension. So I'd have to zoom in literally to like there, which is probably going to look a bit crap, to be honest. Yeah, that looks crap. So let's delete that one. Win some, you lose some. This picture has potential. We've got some really cool bokeh going on there with some background blur. Still not confident. What I might do is see what it looks like if we come right down in on this little nub here. Probably look a bit shit. Yeah, let's reduce some noise. Let's put some color back into it. Let's dehaze it. Nah, it's still shit. You gotta know when to let them go. That one's no good. That one is also no good. Turns out the blue digi is really hard to take pictures of. Let's see, photo, rotate, right. Yeah, as easy as that. Cool. Let's put some color into this up to our 16,000 Kelvin. That's looking pretty close to how the eye sees it. You can see it's been feeding or something here. We've got some weird sweeping cells or whatever coming out of it. Color's pretty good. We'll add a little bit more exposure because we'll take some dehazing. Probably still needs a little bit more exposure. You could probably crop a bit of that action out. We were still on crop. All right. It's probably just a bit too much down the bottom for my liking. Something like that perhaps. Looks like we definitely need some noise reduction. Yeah, that's probably enough for that picture. It's all right. Yeah, that one's pretty much the same. Nothing to write home about, but it's not going to take a lot to get it where we want it, so let's do it. We might leave this one as is because it gives that real dramatic background there. That's all cool. Let's have a look. This was our pink digi with the algae growing through it. I'm not really happy with the parts that are in focus and out of focus. Like this major section here is out of focus too much. I normally really like to get the points of the coral in focus because it kind of looks weird if this is in focus and that's out of focus. So I don't like that picture. we'll let him go, which brings us down to 28 photos. This was a cool piece. This is one that I picked up from Reflections, which is has the potential to be a Walt Disney, I've been told. It's not there yet, but in fairness, when I first got it, it was just purely army green, and you can see we're starting to get some reds and some, maybe even some oranges or something in the polyps here. In fact, if I put the colors up to about 16 Kelvin, 16,000 Kelvin, yeah, you can see it's getting there, but it's not quite there. I got a couple of pictures of it, but both are fairly out of focus. That's what happens when you're in a hurry. All right, this is a pretty cool piece. I'm not sure if the focus is where I want it, but we'll see how it comes up. It's super blue over there, so let's get some color back into it. Yeah, that's not bad. I'll get some exposure. Okay, cool. I don't like the way this major part here is out of focus, so what I might do is we're going to crop. I do actually like this part down here though, so I'm going to crop that down to there, but then that's out of focus, so we kind of need the picture to be about there, maybe there, but a little bit bigger. All right, let's see what that looks like. Nah, I really needed these parts here to be in focus and everything else out. We might let that one go. It's a super photogenic coral though, I do love it. All right, let's keep on rolling. Let's put some color into this one. Yeah, this piece has potential, but probably right down on there. Let's see what that looks like, if we can get some, nah, I could probably zoom in even further. It's a shame, this is probably one of the nicest corals to photograph. Well, to me it is anyway, but I haven't really got a picture I'm happy with it. You could do something with that. By the time you dehaze it, it won't look bad, but all right, let's keep it. We'll keep that color, we'll add a bit more exposure in, we'll get rid of some of this whiteness around the edge. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, it's not a bad shot. All right, we'll live with that. Pink Digi, terrible shot, delete. Ooh, slightly better shot, but a little bit, you can see how it's a bit blurred here. Either I was moving when I took the shot, or the shutter speed was probably just a little bit too slow, just because they're a little bit blurry, but it starts to show you how cool the Pink Digi is. That being said, it's still not a cool shot because it's blurry. Hopefully the next one's better. The funny thing is, it looks like I was trying to take a picture of this part here, which is some of the new growth, and it's focused on the back part here. So let's see if we can narrow down into that part that is focused. You can see it's got vermitid worms. It's got some stinging from that pokey over there, but you know, it is what it is. We're going to try and find a section. I'm probably not going to get the section I want, but let's see if we can find something that's usable. That could be, might highlight the vermitid, but it might be too far zoomed in. It's looking a bit blurry. We'll take some noise reduction out. Yeah, it's a shame. It's not quite there. It is what it is. Something to focus on next time. Need to speed the shutter up on that one. All right, we've got a bit of fireworks here, which is paled out a little bit, but we'll see what it looks like once the color's back in, up to 16,000. Yeah, it's not looking bad. Bearing in mind, I did only just turn the halides on about 15 minutes before taking these pictures. So it's not looking bad. Just to frame the picture up a bit better, I'd probably go to about there, because I don't need all of this section here. It's not needed. The star of this picture is this coral here, and it's kind of nice to have that just a bit off center. Still show a bit of the other stuff in the background, but it's kind of there. The coral's not as happy as it should be, but you can see some of the explosive colors in those polyps. Interestingly, this piece always seems to get white polyps on the most extended pieces of the coral, and then when you go further back into it, you get these orange and yellow polyps, which is pretty cool. Looking at this here, this does need a little bit of noise reduction. Other than that, it's not a bad shot. I mean, I could probably dehaze it a bit more, but it's really getting around where it should be. What about with more color? Less color. Whoa, no, let's go back to 16. Yeah, that's about where it is. My fireworks has looked better, but that's where it currently is, so that's what we got. This coral is one that looks pretty average in person, but always comes up pretty cool under a picture. This shot's not quite there. You can see we've got some weird focus and out of focus, but if I frame it in a little bit more on the part that is focused, something like that could work. Let's have a look. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, that's not a bad shot. All right, let's get the color where it should be. All right, that's where the color should be. Take some dehazing. It's definitely going to need a little bit of noise reduction. Yeah, I still don't like how this part here, this major part of the shot, is out of focus, but I'm going to keep it nonetheless because it's still a pretty cool shot. I'll see if the next one's a better. This one potentially is. Let's have a look. Get the color there. I could frame that up a little bit, but yeah, still a lot of it out of focus. You get that particularly with macro shots, and particularly when you're shooting through the live view rather than through the viewfinder. It's all good, but I do like this little section of growth just here. So we might see if we can focus in on that. That's kind of working all right. A little bit more exposure, a little bit of dehaze, a little bit of noise reduction, and maybe add a little bit of vignetting. That's not a bad picture. I quite like that. All right, we'll keep it. That one's basically the same. Duplicates, delete. All right, here was the Duncan. This picture, judging by a little bit of blurriness around there, was probably need a slightly faster shutter speed, but let's add some color in it and see how it looks. Actually shows some different colors in the Duncan. You can see the purple stems there versus the green stems, depending on whether you're getting sort of the front side or the back side of the coral, but it still looks a little bit out of focus to me, so I'm going to ditch it. All right, let's spin this around. I hate vertical pictures. So photo rotate, right. Cool. This will look sweet once we get the color where it should be. See, we're still at the same color. Have a look at how crazy that goes. It's still a bit blurry on the edges. We might narrow that down a bit. I'd say I possibly took this with the extension tube not fully submerged. But that being said, we can still resurrect that. Yeah, it's still a little out of focus, but it's still a cool shot. So I'm going to persevere with it. Take some dehaze. Add a little bit more exposure. Yeah, always a cool shot. A little bit of noise reduction because there are a few bits that are a little bit hazy, but it's more out of focus than anything else. We'll move on to Dustin's cousin because this is a cool piece of coral and always photographs a treat. We'll get the colors up where they should be, up to near 16,000. I can see this one's going to be an absolute cracker because it just has everything I want. We've got the main part of the coral in focus, and then in the background you've got some out of focus pieces. So this is going to look an absolute treat. Just frame it up a little bit. We'll add some exposure there, put some dehaze in to just sort of get that milkiness out. Shouldn't need a lot of noise reduction looking at that. It's pretty clear, but just put a little bit in. And that's pretty much all we need. It's a shame this part here was just out of focus. For that to be a super cool shot, would have been nice. For the focus to be completely out there, starting to come in there, completely in focus there, and all the way through to the tip. But we'll take that for now. Let's see what the next one's come out like. This one's kind of done the same in that we've got the focus there and it just fades off there, but it is what it is. Funnily enough, it must be about the same distance. This section down here is pretty well in focus. I could try and frame this just around this part, which could look cool with the strong black background, but it's a shame that piece is there. I could probably edit that out and make that black, but we'll roll with what we've got. Let's see if we can frame it in a little bit more. We'll go the other way. We'll take that piece out of the picture and focus in on that one. It really shows the range of colors in this piece. We'll get the colors up where they should be. This piece, I wonder if it doesn't have quite as much LED on it. It doesn't quite seem to need to go all the way up to 16,000 Kelvin. Put a little bit more exposure in there, and then take some dehaze. I still think I need to narrow it down a little bit more, somewhere around about there, so it looks like it's coming in from the left-hand side here. Logo will go down here. That's a pretty cool looking shot. We could blur out the rest a little bit more, just make that our focus. Looks cool. Next one, basically the same coral, same picture. Yeah, I'll just quickly put the colors where they should be. Add a little bit more exposure. It's not going to be my hero shot. We might, or maybe I could use this one to go the other way. Although, like we said, that piece does get in the picture. We might just delete that picture. It's not a bad picture, but I got one the same. Ooh, this is my fakey nada. Get the colors up to where they should be. I'm not sure if that's focused enough for my liking. It's close. It is close, but let's see what the next ones look like. Yeah, that look heaps better. All right, that one gets chucked to the bin. Let's have a look at this one. We got a little bit out of focus here, but these tips here are perfectly in focus and really show the range of colors. Let's bring that Kelvin up to where it should be, up to 16. Probably doesn't need a lot of exposure. We'll give it a little bit though, because when we put some dehaze in, it'll drop it down a bit. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. We can take a little bit of noise reduction out. We could frame that up a bit more, like I could take a bit of this section out. But to be honest, I kind of don't mind that still being in focus down the bottom there as well. This little piece here, might leave that one exactly as is. That's a good looking shot. All right, this one, apart from the ugly algae there, is not too bad, but we've got a pretty cool shot as it was of this, unless we frame the algae out of it. That could work. Just get that algae out of the pitch. All right, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's put some color in it. Up to 16, about there. It's probably just a touch out of focus, but we'll work with it. Put some dehaze in. You can just see my algae friend down here, but we'll keep that between us. Smooth it out a little bit. Probably needs a little bit more exposure. Yeah, it's not the best shot, but it'll work. All right, this is pretty cool. Have a look at this picture here. You can see this is a red Monty cap where it's battling with a toxic green pokey, and you can see some of the stinging there. What I find super interesting is these little green polyps here. I'm assuming they are bailouts from the pokey trying to sting the red Monty cap, which is pretty cool. I've got this frag plug here, which is kind of ruining the shot a little bit, and I don't think I'll really be able to cut that out without losing too much of the other stuff. Maybe able to. That'll still work. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's a pretty cool shot. All right, let's get some color into it because I want to see what that looks like once it's up to 16,000. Oh, yeah. That looks almost fake. It's that red, but that's red Monty cap. I'll bring it back to 15. Probably don't need a lot of exposure, but I'll put a bit in. Let's dehaze it. A little bit of noise reduction. Yeah, cool. Not a bad shot. You could probably frame it just on the bit that's not getting attacked, but that is what it is. Let's have a look at this shot. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I could zoom in on some of the polyps here, but it's not doing much for me. Let's delete it. And last but not least, just as I was taking the camera out of the tank, I saw this little chalice wall. Thought we could do something with that. Let's put some color in it, see what it looks like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see if we can just try to focus in on these bits. Probably bring that up a touch. Maybe about there, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so we've got some color. Let's give it a little bit of exposure so we can dehaze it a touch. That'll work. A little bit of noise reduction, not a lot. It just doesn't quite have what I'm looking for. The focus kind of just comes in and out, but it's not a bad shot. All right, so we've ended up with 17 pictures down here. Some are good, some are okay, some are fairly rubbish. Let's, these are all just coral macro shots, by the way, but let's highlight them all. Come up to File, we'll go Export. Let's put them in a folder. Let's put them in here. Choose that, put them in the subfolder JPEG, rename them to Corona Boredom 1. So they're going to put them into that folder in a JPEG subfolder. Keep them at about quality 75. Let's put my watermark back on. All right, let's export them, see how they come up. All right, exporting 17 files. It's normally when the MacBook will start to struggle a little bit, but it's pumping through them okay. We'll see how they come up. Waiting, 17 files, 17 files, 17 files. And done. Let's have a look. See how these come up. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Next one, that's probably the pick of those two. Probably delete that one, but we'll leave it there for now. Yeah, that's shocking. Let's get rid of him right now. Might as well get rid of that one while we're there. Let's move on to the next one. That's a cool shot. I do like it. Really shows the beautiful polyp structure of the super green pokey. Yeah, that's not great. I mean, a lot of that's out of focus. I'm going to ditch that. That's a bit better. Still a bit out of focus, but we'll let it live for now. Mainly just for this strange sweeper action. I'll leave the photo for that, although it does look like it could have done a little bit more noise reduction and probably could have cleaned up that dot there, but it'll work. See, that one's not the best either. That's a pretty good picture, just the coral's not looking as good as it should. That's blurry, delete. That's not the best either, delete. Yeah, I've got better pictures of that, but we'll roll with that one for the sake of this video. That one's not the best. The tip's out of focus. That's better. That's fine. That's barely making the cut. That's kind of cool, mainly for this little activity going on here. I wonder if anyone knows what these little red lines are. I'm assuming they are these bailed out polyps that are then died on the red Monty, but if anyone wants to tell me if there's some sort of worm or pest or something, I'd be interested to know as well. And finally, our chalice one. So we've ended up with a few less files, but that's pretty much how I go about editing these files. You'll also note that it's got my watermark down the bottom of each of these pictures now. Hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Try not to lose your mind during this self-isolation time. Perfect opportunity to get onto your fish tank and give them a little bit of TLC. Or, you know, if you've got a couple of pinball machines, why not give them a go too. But that's about all I've got time for today, guys. Till next time, thanks for watching and keep reefing. Bye.